The Draconus guards dragged Ector towards the vortex beast's lair, her scales scraping against the rocky ground. This alien girl, deemed weak by her warrior society, was to be fed to the monster. Her fate seemed sealed until a human appeared, changing everything. Harry Rogers, leader of a human exploration team on planet Draconos, witnessed the disturbing scene. His years as a seasoned interstellar explorer and former military officer kicked into high gear. Despite the non-interference protocols, Harry couldn't stand by and watch an innocent being sacrificed. He raised his advanced plasma rifle, taking aim at the Draconus guards. His team protested, warning of potential diplomatic consequences. Harry ignored them. With precision shots, he incapacitated the guards, their reptilian bodies crumpling to the ground. Alarms blared across the Draconus settlement. Harry sprinted towards Ector, who stared at him with wide reptilian eyes. He extended a hand, urging her to trust him. After a moment's hesitation, she grasped it with her clawed fingers. As they ran, the ground shook. The vortex beast, a massive creature of twisting energy and razor-sharp appendages, broke free from its containment. Deprived of its sacrifice, it lashed out in fury. The beast's roars echoed through the alien city, followed by the sounds of destruction and panic. Harry led Ector and his team through winding streets, avoiding the chaos erupting around them. Draconus warriors poured out of buildings, some pursuing the humans, while others attempted to subdue the rampaging vortex beast. They reached the hidden spacecraft on the outskirts of the city. As they boarded, Harry noticed something peculiar about Ector. Unlike the other Draconese, who cowered at the distant roars of the vortex beast, she remained calm. Once safely in orbit, Harry questioned Ector. She revealed her unique genetic traits, which made her immune to the vortex beast's influence. It was the very reason she had been chosen as a sacrifice. The revelation added urgency to their escape. Not only were they fleeing the Draconus military, but now they possessed valuable information about the vortex beast. Harry knew the Draconus leadership would stop at nothing to reclaim Ector. As they plotted a course off-planet, Harry's communication system crackled to life. It was his superiors demanding an explanation for his unauthorized rescue mission. The incident had sparked a diplomatic crisis, threatening the fragile peace between humans and other alien races in the galaxy. Harry glanced at Ector, who watched the stars streaking by with wonder. He had saved her life, but at what cost? With enemies closing in and time running out, Harry faced an impossible choice: ensure Ector's safety or prevent an interstellar war. The humans' actions had inadvertently destabilized an entire alien society. Now, as they raced through space, the fate of multiple worlds hung in the balance. Harry gripped the ship's controls, his jaw set with determination. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he would face them. For in saving Ector, he had embodied the very essence of humanity: compassion in the face of cruelty, and the will to fight for what's right, no matter the odds. As the starship's engines hummed, propelling them through the vast expanse of space, Harry's mind raced. He had saved Ector from certain death, but at what cost? The crackling communication from his superiors echoed in his ears, a stark reminder of the diplomatic crisis he had ignited. Suddenly, the ship's proximity alarms blared. 3 Draconese warships materialized from hyperspace, their sleek reptilian designs dripping with weaponry. "Evasive maneuvers!" Harry barked, his hands flying over the controls. The human vessel dove and weaved through a hail of plasma fire. Ector clung to her seat, her scales shimmering with each violent jolt of the ship. "We can't outrun them forever," Harry's second-in-command Sarah shouted over the chaos. "We need to lose them planetside." Harry nodded grimly. With a sharp turn of the controls, he plunged the ship towards Draconos' atmosphere. The hull groaned under the stress as they plummeted through layers of swirling clouds. Emerging from the cloud cover, they found themselves skimming over a vast alien jungle. Towering trees with bioluminescent fronds stretched as far as the eye could see, their canopies alive with strange, darting creatures. Harry guided the ship to a small clearing, touching down with a bone-jarring thud. "Grab what you can carry," he ordered his team. "We move on foot from here." As they disembarked, the humid air hit them like a wall. Strange scents assaulted their nostrils, a mixture of decay and sweet alien pollen. The ground squelched beneath their boots, a carpet of luminous moss glowing faintly in the perpetual twilight. Beneath the canopy, Harry turned to Hector, who stood uncertainly at the edge of the group. "Stay close," he said, offering her a sturdy walking stick. "The jungle's dangerous, even for your kind." They set off, pushing through dense undergrowth. Every step was a challenge. Vines seemed to reach out and grasp at their ankles, while the air itself felt thick and oppressive. "Watch out!" Sarah suddenly cried. A vibrant, flower-like creature unfurled from a nearby tree, its petals revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth. With lightning speed, it lunged at the group. Harry raised his plasma rifle, firing a precise shot that reduced the creature to ash. The jungle fell silent for a moment before erupting into a cacophony of alien shrieks and calls. "We've alerted everything within earshot," Harry muttered. "Keep moving." As they pressed on, Hector began to open up. "My people have always feared this jungle," she said, her voice a soft hiss. "It's said to be filled with the spirits of those we've sacrificed to the vortex beast." Harry glanced at her, intrigued. "Tell me more about the beast. Why were you chosen as a sacrifice?" Hector's reptilian eyes flickered with emotion. I'm different. The beast's presence doesn't affect me like it does the others. They saw it as a curse, a sign that I was unworthy of life." Before Harry could respond, a distant roar shook the trees. The ground trembled beneath their feet. "The beast," Hector whispered, her scales paling. "No," Harry said, his expression grim. "Something else." The canopy above them suddenly parted, revealing a massive Draconis dropship. Commander Zax's voice boomed from its speakers. "Humans, you have violated our sacred laws and stolen our sacrifice. Surrender now or face the consequences." Harry's team scrambled for cover as Draconis troops repelled from the ship. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air, igniting the strange flora around them. "Return fire," Harry ordered, unleashing a barrage from his rifle. The jungle became a war zone. Human and Draconis weaponry clashed, filling the air with ozone and the screams of the wounded. Hector crouched behind a massive tree root, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. As the battle raged, Harry noticed a shimmer in the air. A holographic interface flickered to life, revealing the unmistakable architecture of an ancient ruin. "Everyone, this way!" he shouted, gesturing towards the hidden structure. They fought their way through the Draconis lines, half running, half crawling towards the ruin's entrance. Sarah took a glancing hit to her leg, crying out in pain as Harry dragged her to safety. Inside the ruin, they found themselves in a vast chamber, filled with dust-covered consoles and strange, pulsing crystals. Holographic displays flickered weakly to life, showing incomprehensible alien script. "Hector, can you read any of this?" Harry asked, his eyes darting between the displays and the entrance where Draconis troops were regrouping. Hector stepped forward, her claws tracing the air in front of a hologram. It's about the beast," she said, her voice filled with awe. "It wasn't always part of our world. It was created, a weapon from long ago." Before she could elaborate, a young Draconis officer burst into the chamber, flanked by heavily armed troops. "Surrender, humans," he snarled. "I, Cyrus, will bring you to justice." Harry raised his rifle, but in that moment, the ancient technology around them surged to life. The ruins shuddered, holographic displays flaring with blinding light. "What have you done?" Cyrus roared as the chamber began to collapse around them. In the chaos, Harry made a split-second decision. He activated the ruins' long-dormant communication array, sending out a distress signal that would reach far beyond Draconis. As chunks of alien metal and stone rained down, Harry grabbed Hector's clawed hand. "This way!" he shouted, leading his team and the young Draconis through a maze of crumbling corridors. They emerged into the jungle just as the ruin imploded behind them, leaving a massive crater in its wake. The air was thick with dust and the acrid smell of damaged electronics. Harry's team regrouped, battered and exhausted. Sarah leaned heavily on another team member, her leg wound, leaving a trail of blood on the luminous moss. Hector stood apart, her scales dusty, but her eyes alive with a new understanding of her world. In the distance, they could hear the sounds of more Draconis forces converging on their location. The distress signal hung in the air like a beacon, promising both hope and the threat of further conflict. Harry surveyed his team, then looked to Hector. Their eyes met, an unspoken connection forming between human and alien. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. With a nod to his team, Harry led them deeper into the alien jungle, the secrets of the vortex beast and the fate of two worlds weighing heavily on their shoulders. The jungle's oppressive heat bore down on Harry and his team as they pressed forward, their progress slowed to a crawl. Sarah's plasma wound had worsened, her face pale and drawn with pain. Harry's mind raced, searching for a solution. "We need to move faster," he muttered, eyes scanning the alien foliage surrounding them. An idea struck him. "Everyone, gather those long fronds. We're making a stretcher." Working quickly, they wove the sturdy alien plant material into a makeshift carrier. Harry and another team member carefully lifted Sarah onto it, her breath coming in sharp gasps. "Hang in there, Sarah," Harry said, gripping the front of the stretcher. "We'll get you out of here." As they resumed their trek, Hector's reptilian eyes darted nervously between the trees. "The Draconis forces are getting closer," she hissed. "I can smell them." Harry nodded grimly. "We need cover. Any ideas?" Hector's scales shimmered as she thought. "There's a plant. Knox bloom. Its sap masks scents and disrupts heat signatures. It could hide us." Without hesitation, Harry gestured for her to lead the way. Hector moved with surprising grace through the underbrush, her clawed hands efficiently gathering clusters of iridescent leaves. She crushed them, releasing a pungent odor, and began applying the paste to everyone's exposed skin and clothing. As they worked, Harry found himself opening up to the alien girl. "You know, I've been in tight spots before," he said, wincing at the sap's sting, "but nothing quite like this." Hector tilted her head, curiosity evident in her alien features. "You were a warrior among your people?" Harry nodded, a distant look in his eyes. "A soldier, decorated even. But I grew tired of following orders that left innocent people suffering. That's why I joined the Exploration Corps." Hector's scales rippled, a sign Harry had come to recognize as emotion. "I understand feeling out of place," she said softly. "My whole life I've been seen as wrong, defective. The elders said my immunity to the beast was an affront to our traditions." Harry placed a hand on her scaly shoulder, surprised at the warmth he felt there. "You're not defective, Hector. You're unique, and that might just save us all." Their moment of connection was shattered by a distant, earth-shaking roar. The vortex beast had escaped the city. "Move!" Harry ordered, hefting the stretcher once more. They pushed on through the dense foliage, the alien jungle becoming more treacherous with each step. Bioluminescent vines writhed around their ankles, and strange, unseen creatures chittered in the canopy above. Just as exhaustion began to set in, they emerged from the tree line to face a new obstacle. A massive gorge stretched before them, its depths lost in swirling mist. The gap was far too wide to jump, and the sheer cliff faces offered no easy path down or up the other side. "No," Harry breathed, frustration evident in his voice. "There has to be a way across." Before anyone could respond, a rustle in the nearby foliage put them all on high alert. Harry raised his plasma rifle, finger hovering over the trigger. "Wait!" a male voice called out. "I mean you no harm." From the underbrush emerged a Draconis male, his scales a muted green compared to Hector's vibrant hues. He held his hands up in a universal gesture of peace. "I am Krell," he said, his reptilian eyes darting between the humans and Hector. "I'm a scientist and a dissident. I've been studying the vortex beast, questioning our barbaric traditions." His gaze settled on Hector. "You must be the immune one. I can help you, but I need to study your condition. It could be the key to everything." Harry's grip on his weapon tightened. "Why should we trust you?" Krell's posture stiffened. "Because I know a way across this gorge. There's a research outpost nearby with equipment that could get us to the other side. But we must hurry. Commander Zax's forces are closing in." Harry exchanged glances with his team, weighing their options. The sound of distant Draconis dropships made the decision for him. "Lead the way," he said to Krell. "But know this, if you betray us, you'll wish you'd never left your lab." Krell nodded solemnly and set off along the gorge's edge. As they followed, Harry noticed Ektor's conflicted expression. "What's wrong?" he asked quietly. She hissed softly. "Krell. His name is known among my people. He was one of the scientists who first studied the vortex beast. Some say he's responsible for its creation." Harry's eyes narrowed. "Looks like our new friend has some explaining to do." The group pushed on, the gorge to their left and the ominous sounds of pursuit to their right. After what felt like hours, Krell held up a hand, signaling them to stop. "There," he whispered, pointing to a clearing ahead. "The outpost." As they approached, Harry's heart sank. The outpost wasn't abandoned as Krell had claimed. Draconis guards patrolled the perimeter, their plasma weapons at the ready. At the center of it all stood a familiar figure, the young officer Saris, his scales jam-packed with authority. "This complicates things," Harry muttered, his mind already formulating a plan. He turned to Ektor and Krell. "How good are your acting skills?" Krell's eyes widened as he realized Harry's intent. "You can't be serious. If we're caught—" "We don't have a choice," Harry cut him off. "Ektor, you and Krell will create a distraction. Use his credentials to get inside. My team and I will sneak in and find the equipment we need." Ektor nodded, her scales shimmering with a mix of fear and purpose. "I'm ready." As Ektor and Krell approached the outpost's entrance, Harry and his team circled around, using the Nox Bloom's camouflaging properties to their advantage. They watched as Krell engaged the guards in conversation, Ektor standing silently by his side. For a moment, it seemed the plan would work. Then Saris emerged from the outpost, his eyes locking onto Ektor. Recognition flashed across his reptilian features. "Seize them!" Saris roared. "It's the fugitive!" Chaos erupted. Harry and his team burst from cover, plasma bolts sizzling through the air. Ektor, no longer playing the passive role, launched herself at the nearest guard with a ferocity that surprised everyone. "Get to the main terminal," Krell shouted over the din of battle. "I can access the outpost systems from there." Harry fought his way through the melee, years of combat experience guiding his every move. He reached the terminal, providing cover fire as Krell's claws flew over the alien interface. "By the first egg!" Krell gasped, his eyes wide as he absorbed the information on the screen. "This changes everything. The beast, Ektor's immunity. It's all connected." Before Harry could demand answers, a bone-chilling roar cut through the chaos of battle. The vortex beast was close. Too close. "We're out of time," Harry growled. "Grab what we need and let's move." As they secured the equipment necessary to cross the gorge, Harry made a split-second decision. He grabbed Saris, who had been disarmed in the fight. "You're coming with us," Harry said, his voice leaving no room for argument. "Consider it a cultural exchange." With the vortex beast's roars growing louder and Commander Zax's forces undoubtedly closing in, Harry led his expanded group, now including Krell and the reluctant Saris, back toward the gorge. The equipment they'd stolen from the outpost was their only hope of escape, but using it would take time they might not have. As they reached the gorge's edge, Harry looked at the motley crew around him. His injured teammate, the alien girl who had become so much more than a rescued hostage, a Draconis scientist with secrets to rival the depth of the chasm before them, and a captured enemy officer. The weight of their survival, and possibly the fate of two worlds, rested squarely on his shoulders. The vortex beast's roar echoed once more, closer than ever. Harry set his jaw, his mind already formulating their next move. Whatever came next, he knew one thing for certain. Their adventure on Draconos was just getting started. The distant roar of the vortex beast spurred them into action. "We need to move now," Harry barked, his mind racing through their limited options. He surveyed the gorge, then the equipment they'd stolen from the outpost. "Krell, can we rig up a zip line with this gear?" The Draconis scientist's eyes widened as he grasped Harry's plan. "Yes, it's possible, but it will take time we may not have." "Then we work fast," Harry said. already unpacking the equipment. Ektor, Saris, help me with this. The rest of you, keep watch. They worked feverishly, Harry's military training and Krell's technical expertise guiding their efforts. As they secured the line, the jungle behind them erupted with a thunderous crash. Trees splintered and fell, revealing the massive form of the vortex beast. Harry's breath caught in his throat as he beheld the creature. Its scaled hide gleamed with an otherworldly sheen, tentacles writhing from its back like living whips. But what struck him most were its eyes, vast, intelligent, and filled with an ancient hunger. As the beast lumbered closer, Harry noticed something strange. Ektor's scales had begun to emit a faint, pulsating glow. The light intensified as the creature approached, casting eerie shadows across the gorge. Krell noticed too, his scientific curiosity overriding his fear. He fumbled with a scanner from the outpost, aiming it at Ektor. "Fascinating," he muttered, eyes fixed on the readout. "Your body is producing a unique biochemical compound. It seems to be repelling the beast." Before anyone could react to this revelation, plasma fire erupted from the jungle's edge. Commander Zax and his forces had arrived, their weapons trained on the mismatched group. "Surrender now," Zax's voice boomed across the clearing. "Hand over the humans and the aberration." Harry, halfway across the gorge with Ektor, shot back. "Not a chance, Zax. We're leaving, and we're taking the key to your beast problem with us." The standoff was shattered by the vortex beast's earth-shaking roar. It burst through the tree line, its massive form casting a shadow over the entire scene. Chaos erupted among Zax's forces. Some fled in terror, while others opened fire on the creature, their plasma bolts dissipating harmlessly against its armored hide. In the confusion, Saris made a decision that would change everything. The young Draconis officer raised his weapon, but instead of targeting Harry's team, he opened fire on his own people. "Go!" he shouted to Harry. "I'll cover you!" Harry didn't waste the opportunity. He ushered the rest of the team across the zip line, the gorge yawning beneath them. Sarah, still injured, gritted her teeth as she made the crossing, her face pale with pain and exertion. As they reached the other side, Harry turned back to see Saris making his way across. Behind him, the research outpost crumbled under the vortex beast's assault. Zax and his remaining forces scattered, their pursuit forgotten in the face of the creature's onslaught. With a momentary reprieve, Harry led the group towards their hidden spacecraft. The terrain was treacherous, filled with toxic flora and hidden predators. Harry's survival instincts kicked into high gear, guiding them through the alien landscape. "Watch your step," Ektor warned as they navigated a field of carnivorous plants. "The devourer vines can strip flesh from bone in seconds." As they pressed on, Krell worked feverishly on a portable synthesizer, attempting to replicate the compound from Ektor's body. "This could be the key to neutralizing the beast," he explained, his claws dancing over the device's controls. "Ektor, I'll need more samples." The Draconis girl nodded, extending her arm without hesitation. Krell extracted more of the glowing fluid from beneath her scales, causing her to wince. Harry noticed the growing bond between the two aliens, born of shared purpose and scientific curiosity. Their progress was slowed by the harsh environment and Sarah's worsening condition. As they crested a ridge, Harry's heart sank. The valley below, where they had hidden their spacecraft, was dramatically altered. A massive landslide had reshaped the terrain, partially burying their means of escape. "No," Harry breathed, fatigue and frustration evident in his voice. He turned to the group, seeing the same realization dawning on their faces. "We need to dig it out, fast." They scrambled down the slope, the sounds of distant roars and plasma fire spurring them on. Harry organized the team into shifts, some digging while others stood guard. Krell split his attention between excavation and his ongoing synthesis efforts. As they worked, Saris approached Harry. "I want you to know," the young Draconis said, "that I believe what we're doing is right. Our traditions, they've blinded us for too long." Harry nodded, a newfound respect for the alien officer growing within him. "Together, we might just find a solution that saves both our peoples." The excavation continued, every minute feeling like an hour. The spacecraft slowly emerged from the debris, their ticket off this dangerous world tantalizingly close. But as the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the alien landscape, Harry knew their time was running out. In the distance, the vortex beast's roar echoed once more, closer than before. The sound of Draconis search parties grew louder, their plasma weapons charging with ominous whines. Harry looked at his battered team, then at the partially uncovered spacecraft. They were so close, yet still so far from escape. As he prepared to push the team for one final effort, Krell's synthesizer beeped. The Draconis scientist's eyes widened as he examined the results. "It's done," he announced, holding up a vial of glowing liquid. "The repellent compound. But we haven't tested it yet. We don't know if—" His words were cut off by a deafening roar. The vortex beast had found them. Them. The ground trembled beneath their feet as the massive creature approached, its roar reverberating through their bones. "We're out of time," Harry shouted, his voice barely audible over the chaos. "Everyone, back to the ship!" The team redoubled their efforts, frantically clearing debris from around the spacecraft. Sarah, her face contorted with pain, pushed herself to her limits. Saris and Krell worked side by side, their differences momentarily forgotten in the face of impending doom. As they dug, Harry's hand struck something solid. He brushed away the loose soil, revealing a metallic surface etched with intricate patterns. "Krell," he called, "what is this?" The Draconis scientist hurried over, his eyes widening as he examined the object. "Impossible," he breathed. This is a relic from our ancient past, a control device for a planetary defense system." Before Harry could respond, a plasma bolt sizzled past his head. He spun around to see a group of Draconis emerging from the jungle, led by a battle-scarred warrior. "I am Vex," the leader announced, his voice dripping with contempt. "You have defiled our sacred traditions and brought the wrath of the beast upon us. Surrender the aberration, and perhaps our gods will show mercy." Harry's mind raced, assessing their options. The ship was still half buried, Ector was weakening by the minute, and now they faced a new threat. He glanced at the artifact, then at Krell. "Can you get this thing working?" he asked urgently. Krell nodded, his claws already dancing over the device's surface. "I believe so, but it will take time." "Time we don't have," Harry muttered. He turned to Saris. "Can you buy us some breathing room?" The young Draconis officer nodded grimly. He activated his communicator, his voice shifting into a perfect imitation of Commander Zack's. "All units, fall back to Sector 7. The beast has broken through our defenses. Repeat, fall back immediately." The effect was instantaneous. Vex's followers hesitated, confusion evident on their scaled faces. Even Vex himself seemed uncertain, his eyes darting between his troops and Harry's group. Taking advantage of the momentary lull, Harry knelt beside Ector. Her scales had lost their luster, and her breathing was shallow. "Hang in there," he murmured, gently applying a healing salve to her wounds. As he worked, he felt a connection deepening between them, transcending the boundaries of their species. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. Trees crashed in the distance as the vortex beast lumbered closer. Harry braced himself for the creature's appearance, but something unexpected happened. As the beast entered the clearing, it paused, its massive head swiveling towards Ector. Krell's eyes lit up with understanding. "Of course! Ector's unique biology, it's affecting the beast." The moment of revelation was short-lived. Vex, seizing the opportunity, charged forward with a battle cry. His followers snapped out of their confusion and joined the attack. Harry's team sprang into action. Sarah, despite her injuries, provided covering fire with deadly accuracy. Saris engaged in hand-to-hand combat with two Draconis warriors, his military training evident in every move. Krell split his attention between defending their position and working on the artifact. As Harry fought off an attacker, he caught glimpses of Ector. Even in her weakened state, she moved with a fluid grace, using her knowledge of Draconis weak points to devastating effect. The battle raged on, a chaotic mix of advanced weaponry and primitive Draconis arms. Harry's military experience proved invaluable as he coordinated their defense, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Just when it seemed they might be overwhelmed, Krell shouted triumphantly. The artifact hummed to life, projecting a holographic map of the planet. glowing points appeared across the surface, indicating long-dormant defense installations. "It's working," Krell exclaimed. "But there's a problem. The system needs a biological key to fully activate, a key that matches Ector's genetic makeup." Harry's heart sank as he realized the implications. He looked at Ector, saw the understanding in her eyes. Activating the defense system could save the planet, but at what cost? The decision was made more urgent by the sound of approaching ships. Saris, monitoring enemy communications, turned to Harry with a grim expression. "Zax's reinforcements are here. We're out of time." As if on cue, alarms blared from their spacecraft. Its systems were finally online, offering a tantalizing chance of escape. Harry found himself at the center of an impossible choice. The fate of Ector, the planet, and perhaps the balance of power in this sector of space rested on his next move. He looked at each member of his team: Sarah, injured but determined; Saris, the defector who had risked everything; Krell, whose scientific brilliance had brought them this far; and Ector, the woman who had come to mean so much more than just an alien ally. The vortex beast roared. Vex's warriors regrouped for another assault, and the whine of approaching Draconis ships filled the air. In this moment of crisis, with countless lives hanging in the balance, Harry steeled himself to make a decision that would change everything. Harry's mind raced, the weight of countless lives pressing down on him. The artifact hummed with ancient power. Ector's weakened form slumped nearby, and the cacophony of battle surrounded them. In that heartbeat of indecision, a new possibility crystallized. "Krell," Harry called out, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Can we use Ector's biology as bait instead of a key?" The Draconis scientist's eyes widened, his claws dancing over his synthesizer. "Theoretically, yes, but we'd need a concentrated dose, and quickly." Harry nodded, his plan taking shape. "Do it. Everyone else, we need to buy time and space." As Krell worked feverishly, Harry organized their ragtag group. Sarah, gritting her teeth against the pain, provided covering fire from behind a fallen tree. Saris used his military training to coordinate their defense, his voice rising above the din in clear, precise orders. Harry knelt beside Ector, gently helping her to her feet. "I need you for one more push," he said softly, supporting her weight. "Then we get you out of here." She nodded weakly, her scales dulled, but her eyes still bright with drive. Krell's synthesizer beeped, and he held up a vial of glowing liquid triumphantly. "It's ready!" Working quickly, they placed samples of the concentrated repellent around their position. The effect was almost immediate. The vortex beast, which had been charging towards them with earth-shaking steps, suddenly faltered. Its massive head swung from side to side, clearly confused by the conflicting scents. Taking advantage of the beast's disorientation, Harry redoubled their efforts to unearth the spacecraft. Sweat poured down his face as he dug, acutely aware of the precious seconds ticking away. A plasma bolt sizzled past, scorching the ground inches from Harry's hand. He looked up to see Commander Zax himself leading a new wave of Draconis forces into the fray. "Saris," Harry shouted, "we need more time." The young Draconis officer nodded grimly. He stepped forward, hands raised in a gesture of parley. "Commander Zax," he called out, "we have a solution to the beast problem, one that doesn't require sacrifices or destruction." Zax hesitated, his weapon lowering slightly. "Explain quickly, traitor," he growled. As Saris launched into a rapid explanation of their discovery, Harry noticed Vex and his followers using the distraction to maneuver closer. He caught Sarah's eye and nodded towards the zealots. She understood immediately, adjusting her aim to keep them at bay. The negotiations were interrupted by a bone-rattling roar. The vortex beast, having adjusted to the repellent, was on the move again. It charged towards them, its massive form blotting out the sky. In that moment of chaos, Vex made his move. He lunged forward, grabbing Ector and trying to drag her towards the beast. "The old ways must be preserved," he shouted. Harry reacted instinctively. He tackled Vex, the two of them rolling dangerously close to the beast's thundering feet. They grappled in the dirt, Harry's combat training giving him an edge against the larger Draconis. As they fought, Harry became aware of a strange humming. The artifact was glowing, pulsing with energy. Krell's voice cut through the sounds of battle. Harry, the artifact, it's responding to you and Ector. Harry managed to get Vex in a chokehold, his mind racing. What does that mean? I think, Krell shouted back, dodging a plasma bolt, that together you might be able to control it. The implication hit Harry like a physical blow. He looked at Ector, saw the understanding in her eyes. This was a chance, albeit a risky one, to end this without sacrifice. With a final surge of strength, Harry knocked Vex unconscious. He scrambled to his feet, reaching for Ector. Together they staggered towards the artifact. As they approached, the humming grew louder. The air crackled with energy, making Harry's hair stand on end. He placed his hand on the artifact's smooth surface, feeling an odd tingling sensation. Ector did the same, her scales glowing faintly. For a moment, nothing happened. Then with a blinding flash, a shimmering force field erupted from the artifact. It expanded rapidly, engulfing the vortex beast. The creature roared in confusion, thrashing against the energy barrier. The sudden containment of the beast brought a momentary lull to the battlefield. All eyes turned to the shimmering dome of energy and the two figures at its center. Harry could feel the strain of maintaining the field. It was like nothing he'd ever experienced, as if his very atoms were vibrating in tune with some cosmic frequency. Beside him, Ector trembled with the effort, her unique biology interfacing with the ancient technology in ways even Krell couldn't fully understand. But the field was unstable. Cracks of energy spider-webbed across its surface, and the beast's relentless assault was weakening it further. It's not enough, Krell called out, his instruments whirring as he analyzed the phenomenon. The field is collapsing. Harry looked at Ector, saw the willpower in her eyes that mirrored his own. Without a word, they both knew what had to be done. They pressed their hands more firmly against the artifact, embracing whatever consequences might come. The humming rose to a fever pitch. Harry felt as if his very DNA was being rewritten, his connection to Ector and the artifact growing stronger by the second. The force field stabilized, its color shifting to a deep pulsing blue. As the energy coursed through them, Harry became aware of a startling possibility. This joining, this melding of human and draconis biology with ancient technology, could change everything. Not just for them, but for the future of both their species. The vortex beast roared in frustration, its massive form contained but still very much a threat. Commander Zax and his forces watched in awe, their weapons lowered. Even Vex and his zealots seemed stunned into inaction. Harry and Ector stood at the center of it all, their hands joined on the artifact, the fate of Draconos hanging in the balance. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with unknown dangers and possibilities. But as Harry met Ector's gaze, he knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. The force field pulsed, the beast raged, and the future trembled on the edge of transformation. In this crucible of crisis, the next moments would determine not just their fate, but the course of human-draconis relations for generations to come. As Harry and Ector's hands remained firmly pressed against the artifact, a sudden surge of energy coursed through the device. The force field containing the vortex beast began to stabilize, its pulsing blue light growing stronger and more consistent. However, this process triggered an unexpected reaction in both Harry and Ector. A brilliant, otherworldly glow enveloped their bodies, starting at their fingertips and rapidly spreading across their forms. Harry felt a tingling sensation coursing through his veins, as if every cell in his body was being rewritten. He tried to pull away from the artifact, but found his hands inexplicably bound to its surface. "Krell!" Harry called out, his voice strained. "What's happening to us?" The Draconis scientist's eyes widened as he furiously tapped at his instruments. "The artifact, it's not just activating the planetary defenses, it's altering your genetic structure." As if on cue, the ground beneath their feet began to tremble. In the distance, massive structures rose from the earth, breaking through layers of soil and vegetation. Ancient Draconis defense installations, dormant for millennia, awakened at last. Beams of energy shot forth from these newly risen towers, converging on the contained vortex beast. The creature thrashed wildly within its prison, its roars of frustration echoing across the battlefield. The combined power of the force field and the defense network held firm, keeping the beast fully encased and under control. Commander Zax, witnessing the effectiveness of the ancient technology, raised his hand. "Stand down," he ordered his troops. The Draconis forces lowered their weapons, looks of awe and confusion on their scaled faces. Zax approached Harry and Hector, his eyes narrowing as he took in their glowing forms. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded. "Explain yourselves." Krell stepped forward, his synthesizer beeping frantically as it processed the data. "Commander, the artifact is using their combined genetic material to create a hybrid DNA structure. This new genetic code seems to be the key to permanently controlling the planetary defense system." As Krell spoke, Harry's mind reeled. The physical changes were disorienting enough, but now he found himself experiencing flashes of memories that weren't his own. He saw glimpses of Hector's childhood, felt her fears and hopes, as if they were his own. Beside him, Hector gasped, her eyes meeting his with a look of startled recognition. "Harry," she whispered, her voice resonating in his mind rather than his ears. "I can feel your thoughts, your memories." He nodded, understanding without words. Their minds had become inexplicably linked, allowing them to communicate on a level beyond speech. This newfound connection proved invaluable as they worked in perfect synchronization to manipulate the artifact's controls, fine-tuning the containment field around the vortex beast. Suddenly, a commotion erupted behind them. Vex, his eyes wild with desperation, had rallied his remaining followers. "Stop them!" he bellowed, charging towards Harry and Hector. "The old ways must be preserved." Saris, who had been watching the unfolding events with a mix of awe and concern, sprang into action. "Defend them!" he shouted, gesturing to both human and Draconis soldiers. "We can't let them disrupt the process." A fierce but brief battle ensued. Saris led the joint force with skill and tenacity, his military training evident in every move. Plasma bolts and energy weapons crisscrossed the clearing as Vex's zealots clashed with the defenders. Despite their fervor, Vex's faction found themselves overwhelmed by the combined might of the Allied forces. As the last of Vex's followers fell or surrendered, a hush fell over the battlefield. All eyes turned to the vortex beast, still contained within its shimmering prison. To everyone's amazement, the creature's aggressive behavior began to subside. Its thrashing slowed, and its roars transformed into low, almost inquisitive rumbles. Krell, his instrument still whirring, looked up in astonishment. "Incredible! The beast, it's showing signs of intelligence, even docility." He turned to Commander Zax, excitement evident in his voice. "Sir, I believe we've been wrong about the beast all along. It wasn't inherently evil or destructive. Centuries of mistreatment and forced confinement drove it to madness." As Krell's words sank in, Harry felt the energy coursing through his body begin to stabilize. The glow around him and Hector faded, but the changes it had wrought remained. Harry flexed his fingers, marveling at the newfound strength he felt. His skin had taken on a slightly scaled texture, and he could sense an enhanced awareness of his surroundings. Beside him, Hector blinked rapidly, her eyes now bearing a striking resemblance to human irises. "Harry," she said aloud, her voice tinged with wonder, "I feel different. My thoughts, my emotions, they're clearer, more nuanced." Commander Zax approached them cautiously, his expression a mix of awe and uncertainty. "What you've done here today," he began, his voice gruff but not unkind, "it changes everything. The old ways, our isolation, perhaps they've held us back for too long." He straightened, addressing the assembled forces. "I propose a formal alliance between the Draconis and humans. Together, we can forge a new path forward." As Zax's words echoed across the clearing, Harry and Hector shared a look of hope and trepidation. Their union had created something entirely new, a bridge between two species that had long viewed each other with suspicion and fear. But as the first flickers of excitement spread through the crowd, they both sensed the challenges that lay ahead. In the distance, the controlled vortex beast let out a low, almost musical call. The ancient defense installations hummed with power, a tangible reminder of the responsibility that now rested on their shoulders. Harry and Hector stood hand in hand, their shared consciousness processing the enormity of what had transpired. As news of the events on Draconos began to spread, diplomatic channels between Earth and the Draconos homeworld crackled to life for the first time. The galaxy watched and waited, poised on the brink of a new era of cooperation, or conflict. For Harry and Hector, their journey was just the beginning. It had in many ways only just begun. The artifact's energy subsided, leaving Harry and Hector standing hand in hand, their bodies tingling with newfound power. They looked at each other, marveling at the physical changes they had undergone. Harry's skin now bore a faint, iridescent sheen, while Hector's scales had taken on a more human-like texture. "We need to act quickly," Harry said, his voice resonating with a new depth. "The situation is still volatile." Hector nodded, her newly human-like eyes reflecting commitment. "Agreed. We must bring everyone together, show them what we've discovered." They turned to face the assembled crowd. Commander Zax approached, his expression a mix of awe and wariness. "What do you propose?" he asked, his voice gruff but open. Harry and Hector shared a quick glance, their linked minds working in perfect synchronization. "A grand assembly," they said in unison, their voices blending harmoniously. Over the next few days, as news of the events on Draconos spread across the planet and beyond, Harry and Hector worked tirelessly to organize the gathering. They sent out invitations to Draconos clan leaders, human diplomats, and representatives from other alien races. The ancient ruins where the artifact had been discovered were chosen as the meeting place, symbolizing the bridge between past and future. On the day of the assembly, the ruins buzzed with activity. Draconos guards stood alongside human peacekeepers, their former animosity replaced by cautious cooperation. Delegates from various factions filed in, their conversations a mix of excitement and apprehension. Harry and Hector stood at the center of the gathering, their hybrid forms drawing curious stares. As the last of the attendees settled in, they began to speak, their words flowing seamlessly between them. "We stand before you today," Harry began, his voice clear and strong, "as living proof of what can be achieved when our species come together. For too long," Hector continued without missing a beat, "we have viewed each other with suspicion and fear, but we have discovered a greater truth." Their alternating speech patterns captivated the audience, demonstrating the depth of their connection. As they spoke of unity and cooperation, murmurs of agreement began to ripple through the crowd. Suddenly, a commotion at the back of the gathering drew everyone's attention. The vortex beast, now docile and under control, was being led into the ruins. Some delegates gasped, others reached for weapons, but Harry and Hector raised their hands in a calming gesture. "Do not be afraid," Harry said, his voice soothing. "The beast is no longer a threat." Hector added, "In fact, it possesses knowledge that could change everything we thought we knew about our world." To demonstrate, they approached the beast. As they placed their hands on its massive form, their bodies glowed faintly. The beast let out a low, melodious sound, and suddenly images began to project from the artifact. The audience watched in awe as scenes from ancient Draconos played out before them. A thriving civilization, the creation of the beast as a guardian, and the cataclysm that led to its long sleep. As the images faded, a hushed silence fell over the gathering. Harry and Hector turned to address the crowd once more, ready to build on this momentum of revelation. But before they could speak, chaos erupted. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air as a group of armed insurgents burst into the ruins. Human military deserters fought alongside Draconos traditionalists, their faces contorted with rage and fear. "Death to the abominations!" a human voice shouted. "Preserve the old ways!" a Draconos elder roared. Harry and Hector sprang into action, their movements fluid and synchronized. Harry's enhanced strength allowed him to leap impossible distances, intercepting plasma bolts mid-air with his bare hands. Hector's deeper understanding of Draconos physiology let her anticipate and counter their attackers' moves with uncanny precision. As they fought, they remained in constant mental communication, coordinating their efforts seamlessly. Harry reached out with his mind, activating the artifact's defensive capabilities. Shimmering force fields sprang up around groups of delegates, protecting them from the chaos. The vortex beast, sensing the danger, let out a thunderous roar. Instead of attacking, however, it used its massive body to shield vulnerable delegates from falling debris. This act of protection did not go unnoticed, and many who had doubted the creature's change of heart found their skepticism wavering. As the battle raged, Harry and Ector realized that physical combat alone would not be enough to end the conflict. They shared a look of understanding, knowing what needed to be done. "Everyone, please remain calm," Harry called out, his voice carrying over the din of battle. Ector continued, "What we are about to do may seem strange, but we ask for your trust." They made their way back to the artifact, fighting off attackers as they went. Upon reaching it, they placed their hands on its smooth surface once more. The familiar hum of energy began to build, growing in intensity until it filled the entire ruins. "We offer you understanding," Harry and Ector said in unison, their voices resonating with power. A pulse of energy exploded outward from the artifact, enveloping everyone present, human, Draconis, and even the vortex beast. For a brief, breathtaking moment, every mind was connected, experiencing the harmony and mutual understanding that Harry and Ector shared. Weapons clattered to the ground as attackers and defenders alike were overcome by the shared consciousness. They saw through each other's eyes, felt each other's fears and hopes. Generations of mistrust and hatred melted away in the face of this profound connection. As the energy faded and individual consciousness returned, the ruins fell silent. Humans and Draconis looked at each other with new eyes. The barriers between them irrevocably changed. Commander Zack stepped forward, his expression one of wonder and purpose. "I think," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "it's time we started dismantling some old systems." Harry nodded, feeling a surge of hope. "And it's time we established a permanent human presence here, to work together as true allies." The vortex beast rumbled softly, and Harry and Ector turned to it with smiles. "And you," Ector said warmly, "have a lot to teach us about our shared history." As the assembly began to disperse, delegates mingling freely and discussing the future with newfound enthusiasm, Harry and Ector found a quiet moment alone. They looked out over the ruins, now a symbol of rebirth rather than destruction. "We've only just begun," Harry said, squeezing Ector's hand. She nodded, her eyes shining with commitment. "But we'll face whatever comes next, together." As the sun began to set on Draconos, casting a golden glow over the ancient ruins, Harry and Ector stood side by side, ready to guide their people into a new era of cooperation and understanding. The path ahead was uncharted, filled with both promise and challenge, but they faced it with unwavering persistence, their bond a testament to the potential that lay in unity.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.